If you're like me, you're always looking for ways to make learning meaningful and relevant for your students. Want to bring environmental education into your classroom with hands-on place-based learning? Looking for a powerful new show that teaches kids about neurodiversity in a way that's authentic and insightful? Or maybe you just want to settle the ultimate art museum battle once and for all. Guess what? We've got all that and more coming up. By the way, I'm Matt, and this is the planning period. Let's go. A few weeks ago, I met a teacher from Escanaba, which was really exciting for me because I'm a downstate kid. Like, I just visited the UP for the first time a few years ago, and I thought it was amazing. But anyway, I met CJ, who's from Escanaba. He's a first grade teacher, and he learned about the Michigan Learning Channel when he was Googling for lessons and resources, as we all do, right? So somehow we got in touch, and this week I was actually able to get him on a call, and we had a super fun conversation about Reading Month and Windows and Mirrors and how to cultivate a community-centered learning space. So where have you seen for your students the impact of this community-centered culture that you've experienced both as a young person and as an adult? Like, how is that supporting their learning and helping them grow into humans?
Yeah, I think a big part of what we like to do here at Lemmer and Escanaba Schools is just set these students up that they can be real life, like real world leaders. We have our different curriculum we do here, like our positive behavior intervention system. We try to have them be comfortable with who they are and then learn to be in control of themselves, and then they can eventually go out into the world to kind of give back. Students are taught like the vocab words of like have a growth mindset, overcome challenges. Like in my classroom personally, we have a growth mindset pledge we say every morning, and we're trying to train our brains. Like I keep repeating like, hey, I know we may not want to do this right now, but like, hey, we say this every day, like we got to train our brain because we want to keep improving and keep becoming the best version of ourselves we can be. So like it's kind of like just continually like being a broken record of kind of giving these students like the vocab words and like the mindset of like, hey, we can overcome this. Like I'm transparent with them of like my daily struggles, and like we're all transparent here, but like, hey, we're all going through something, but like let's do it together.
I learned so much from CJ. I think he's an incredible educator, and I'm so happy for the kids and families in Escanaba that he's working with. So please check out the interview. We'll link it below, and if you know any incredible teachers out there that I can interview and feature on the show, or maybe it's you, please, please, please reach out. We want to showcase all of the best of what's happening in schools and communities across Michigan.
Please hold for a very important message.
We have something important to talk about today. This. The Toledo Museum of Art has beat out the Detroit Institute of Arts this year for Best Art Museum in the country. Now, I do love the Toledo Museum of Art. I love glass. I love the grounds, I love the sculpture garden, and they do have a beautiful collection, but come on. The DIA, Detroit, I mean, Van Gogh, Charles McGee, Kehinde Wiley, Diego Rivera. Here's what we're gonna do. I used to teach debate. I have training for this. Good afternoon. The topic of today's debate is resolved. The Detroit Institute of Arts is the best art museum in the country. I would like to argue the affirmative. Observation 1, definitions. To clarify, best is defined as having the highest quality, significance, and impact relative to other institutions in its category. The Detroit Museum of Arts, the DIA, is an arts museum, but more than that, it is the art museum. It is a cultural beacon that other institutions can only dream of becoming. Contention 1, the DIA has the most iconic and diverse collection of any museum in the United States. Evidence A, while the Louvre has the Mona Lisa and the Met has its steps that people sit on to pretend they're in Gossip Girl, the DIA boasts the Detroit Industry Murals by Diego Rivera, one of the most significant works of art in the Western Hemisphere. These murals don't just depict industry, they capture the very soul of American labor. According to the museum's own website, these murals are considered by many to be Rivera's finest work. Who is many? Probably art historians, but we're going to assume they know what they're talking about. Evidence B, beyond Rivera, the DIA houses everything from Van Gogh's self-portrait to an actual Matisse, a collection spanning continents and centuries. Can the Toledo Museum of Art say that?
Yeah.
Oh,
They can.
they can?
Yeah.
Well, okay, technically, maybe. But can they do it with Detroit swagger? Absolutely not. Contention 2, the DIA is the most resilient art museum in America. Some museums rely on stability, but real greatness comes from survival. The DIA has faced financial crises, the threat of having its collection auctioned off to cover city debt, and the general fact that people underestimate Detroit. And yet, it persists. In 2014, the museum secured its independence from city ownership in a $100 million grand bargain, as reported by the New York Times. Meanwhile, the Met continues to struggle with budget deficits. The lesson: the DIA isn't just a museum, it's a fighter. Contention 3, the Detroit embodies the spirit of democracy in art. Unlike some elitist institutions that cater only to tourists and rich donors, the DIA embraces the people. It was one of the first museums in the country to eliminate general admission fees for residents, making world-class art actually accessible. The people own the art. The people see the art. The people are the art. Metaphorically, of course. Conclusion: for all these reasons, it is clear that the Detroit Institute of Arts is not only the best art museum in the country, it is a monument to perseverance, inclusivity, and artistic excellence. To argue otherwise would be to ignore the historic and cultural significance of Detroit itself. And if we are willing to overlook the greatness of Detroit, are we even capable of recognizing greatness at all? In all seriousness, this would be a really fun and engaging debate to bring into your classroom. Both the Detroit Institute of Art and the Toledo Museum of Art have a lot of their collections listed online, so there's definitely a way to incorporate some visual analysis and discussion of what makes art and experiences valuable. And students could even develop their own rating system to make a more informed decision. Of course, there's lots of other debates that these types of thinking, research, and discussion activities can be applied to. And as strange and overwhelming as it can be, I have also found that using this traditional debate method, like I just did, can be really valuable for helping students organize their thoughts and bring some personality into their arguments. When I used to teach debate, we had an absolute blast using this overly formal speech format to debate topics like favorite museums, favorite foods, college alliances, and other classic questions that get people fired up. If you try using debate in your classroom, make sure you leave a comment and let us know how it went. April is a big month for environmental awareness. It's Earth Month. We celebrate Earth Day on April 22nd, and it's also Environmental Education Month and Citizen Science Month. That's a lot, but it all connects to one big idea: taking care of our planet and empowering people, especially students, to be part of the solution. I always like to look into these events and celebrations because I think legacy is important, and understanding where we've come from and who has led the way in terms of social movements and education movements can be really valuable. In the case of Earth Day, of course, young people were at the center. The first Earth Day actually took place at the University of Michigan in 1970 and was part of a larger movement of student activism at the time. Soon after the initial grassroots Earth Day events, the US government established the EPA and began including climate and health considerations in legislation like the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts. We'll get more into some of this history in future episodes, but today I want to share some of my favorite resources from Michigan educators that can help you bring environmental education into your classroom. The Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative is a statewide organization with regional hubs that provide teacher professional development, community connections, and support for field trips, classroom instruction, and more. GLSI promotes something called place-based learning, which is a framework that leverages the local community and environment as the central context for teaching and learning. We connected with GLSI at the Place-Based Learning Conference last year and learned about some of their values and approaches in our state. So for today's PD, I'm actually going to turn it over to the regional educators from their team.
Places, they have an effect on us as human beings, whether they're historic or current. And I think to get students to leave the classroom, which is a confining kind of place, and be outside or in their own community. It's hard to replicate in a PowerPoint or a lecture. It just isn't the same. And get away from that technology.
We are at the Place-Based Education Conference here in Grand Rapids that I'm very pleased to be a part of. I've been at the conference on many occasions. It's a place for us to come together to learn about what place-based education is.
For us, it means knowing our neighbors. It means understanding how water systems work in an urban setting. It means understanding the nature that is around us, even though we're in a city. And it means being deeply connected and rooted and loving something enough to protect it. Kids have more imagination and solutions than adults have. And so I think when teachers understand that it's their job to foster that sense of place and action in students, their learning is better and they become better humans.
For the full PD video and even more from place-based education educators around the state, check out our place-based education playlist on our YouTube channel. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and one of my favorite shows lately has been the brand new show called Carl the Collector from PBS Kids. I actually like it so much that I want to watch some clips with you and talk through why I think this is super valuable for young kids, but also for older kids and even adults to spend time watching and discussing. But before we get into it, we have to talk about how the show was created. Something I really do love about PBS Kids is all of the work they put into making shows authentic and representative. Now, we know this work is never perfect, but I appreciate the ways that PBS Kids works to center diverse perspectives and expert voices in show development. In the case of Carl the Collector, the show's creator is autistic and has spoken about how he brought his own experiences, perspectives, and goals into the show. He said in an interview, and I think this is so powerful, that if everyone could be exposed to the full spectrum of humanity at an early age, everyone could benefit. The show is also guided by content advisors Dr. Stephen Shore, a professor at Adelphi University and international recognized expert in autism studies, and Dr. Rebecca Landa, executive director of the Center for Autism Studies at the Kennedy Krieger Institute in Baltimore. And as usual, the PBS learning media materials available for the show include a curriculum guide developed to align with Castle 5 standards for social emotional learning. So again, I love this about PBS Kids, that everything is grounded in research and best practice, and they're really intentional. But all that said, I think the best way to get a sense of how powerful this program is to watch it. So we're gonna check out a clip from an episode titled The Fall. In this episode, Carl is playing with his friend Nico when she trips and falls, and Carl freezes, and the story takes off from there.
Yes, it's Carl.
So we've got this really cute funky intro for Carl the Collector that I really adore. The kind of main gist of the show is that Carl collects lots of different things. So we're seeing these different things that like he, attaches his identity to and is proud of and wants to share with his friends. I love the way that this show really works hard to break down stereotypes about neurodivergent people. Specifically this idea that like socializing is challenging because everybody has friends and everybody wants friends. I love also the way Carl often like narrates for us what's happening in a way like with vocabulary. Oh no.
Ow! Ow!
Okay. So he watched his friend hurt. Now this sequence here actually is really amazing to me. I think they did a phenomenal job using art here and animation to show what's going on in Carl's brain in this moment. He witnesses his friend fall, which is sad. He's like visibly upset by this, but he freezes and he's not sure what to do. Imagine how powerful to be able to show this to a young person who has experienced this or experiences this regularly. I think we all experience this, but especially we know with neurodivergence, there's opportunities where this happens a lot, where you experience something and you feel like you should do something, but you're really not sure what to do. To be able to visualize for kids like what's happening in your brain, or give them an opportunity to draw and illustrate what's happening during experiences like this. So one of my favorite episodes, there are lots of them. Most of them are available to stream online on pbs.org, pbskids.org, and YouTube. You can find these. And again, there are some really great educational materials that help educators and families understand how to engage with this and how to maybe use it, as well as like the research and background behind how this show was developed and why it can be really beneficial for everybody. So check it out. I had so much fun watching this with you. If you like it, if you have other feedback, if you noticed other things in the episode that you think would be helpful to talk about, leave us a comment. Like as always, if you had fun watching this with me, and I would love to hear what you think if you go and track down this show and watch it on your own or with the young people in your life. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you found some new ideas and inspiration to bring into your classroom. Let me know in the comments, how are you celebrating Earth Month? Have you checked out Carl the Collector yet? And of course, where do you stand in the Great Museum debate? If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss an episode. Until next time, keep teaching, keep learning, and keep making a difference.
This program is made possible in part by the state of Michigan and by viewers like you. Thank you.